Fast becoming one of the most beloved combat sports on the planet, MMA has caught the mind of fans around the world. Still, in its early stages, the sport remains to go from strength to strength and create some of the best memories in all combat. So, let's take a look at some. Alligators and mixed martial arts. When it was first conceived, the Ultimate Fighting Championships went through several rehearsals before deciding on its now signature octagon cage with wire fencing. But did you also know that at one point the idea of using alligators and a moat around the cage was enthusiastically discussed? There might have even been some electric fencing thrown in there for good measure if someone had their way. Now, we aren't sure exactly how far this idea went, but we are definitely happy that it went no further than the design book. The octagon design was inspired by Chuck Norris. Planned by art director Jason Cusson, the UFC octagon was enthused by a pretty average movie called The Octagon, and in it, a retired kickboxer played by the martial arts hero Chuck Norris. It was the movie's name and fighting scenes which directed Cusson to focus his designer's mind on the upcoming first ever UFC event. Zuffa purchased the UFC sitcom $1 Million. Yes, it is true, Zuffa LLC bought the UFC back in 2001 for a meager $2 million. While the spot had been very popular amongst fight fans, politicians and government were coming down hard on what was once called human cockfighting. David "Tank" Abbott appears in the TV series Friends. Tank Abbott was identified as a biker and brawler before becoming one of the most feared punchers in the UFC. The pot-bellied heavyweight, recognized for his vicious knockouts, is much less well known for his appearance in the hit TV sitcom Friends. The episode features Monica's boyfriend Pete publicizing he is going to become an MMA fighter and the UFC champion. Pete manages to land a fight against Tank Abbott, which unsurprisingly does not go his way, as Tank knocks him down then out by stamping on his neck. Pankration fighting was the first true mixed martial art. The sport of pankration goes back to 648 BC, when it was first introduced to the Olympic Games. Pankration was the very first true mixed martial art. Its members were known as pankratius, which was a vital element of the Greek military hand-to-hand combat training, combining wrestling, hitting using hands and feet, as well as fighters having to rapidly get back to their feet. It was intended for when a soldier might lose their weapon in battle and have to use only hands and feet to defend themselves. The ancient fighting art of pankration very much offers itself to today's modern mixed martial arts fighting style. The UFC belt is made from gold and worth a lot. It does not just look like it is gold, the UFC Championship belt is made from gold. The belt itself weighs 12 pounds and is worth approximately $330,000 back in 2010. Cain Velasquez was a nightclub bouncer. Back in the day when the past UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez was trying to break into the sport of MMA, he would moonlight as a club bouncer to make ends meet, and many nights after concluding his work in the club, Velasquez was too tired to drive home. Then, the very next morning, drive back to the gym to train. He would spend the night sleeping in his car, in the car park of the local Home Depot, just across the road from his gym. Longest win streak, Igor Vovchanchin. Now, you really must be an old-school fight fan to remember this guy. Igor Vovchanchin is one of the scariest dudes both inside and outside the cage, known for his impressive old-school punching and willingness to take on anyone. Vovchanchin also has the record for the longest win streak in all of MMA. Standing at 32 straight wins with one no contest, his record still stands to this day. As a side note, there were tales from Russia of Igor as a young boy who, when he'd get mad, the local shop owners in his village would shut their doors, as the uncontainable child would tear through the streets, smashing everything as he went. Just watch his fights to get a feel for the scorching Russian. Jeff Monson, the child counselor. While this MMA heavyweight may be known for his muscled, tattooed body and anarchist beliefs, it is the softer side of Monson that has gone pretty much unknown for the majority of his career. An elite grappler and Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitor, Jeff Monson also had a master's degree in psychology, having worked in the fields of crisis management and child counseling. Now look at some of his fights and tell us you would have ever thought that. Mauricio Shogun, the model. Look at Mauricio Shogun Rua today, and you probably wouldn't think that he was at one point a successful model. Watching some of these fighters now versus the earlier part of their careers and the physical changes are sometimes stunning. But it is in fact true that before becoming one of the most feared men in MMA, the Brazilian powerhouse was a male model. And now, knowing the volume of damage he has taken over the years, we aren't sure how long he could have run his careers in parallel. With that said, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.